out there.
We're out there.
We're out there.
Where is there?
I think there is Facebook. And
Oh,
yep, there it is.
I didn't agree. Did I opt into this?
I hope you opted into this. You're here,
I hope
right?
so too. It's physically I'm here. We'll see about the rest.
Okay, so guess how many hours people have spent watching the content we created from
Oh
the
man,
Leadership Summit? Just one day's worth.
I'm worried that I'm like either grossly underestimate or overestimate.
I know that's what makes it fun, right?
This is the hardest question I've had all day. So I'm going to estimate 20,000 hours.
20,000 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, your guess was a little bit less than Dan Gardner's, which was 4 million.
Yeah.
4 billion.
4 billion.
234,134.
Guess I'm the loser today, huh, Dan?
Man. Okay. Well, as we know, people are bad with numbers, and obviously you guys showed that today. There were 2 full days and 2 or so hours of all that content consumed just yesterday. So
2 full days.
Yeah. So 2 full whole days. That's pretty
48
amazing.
hours, that's what you're saying?
48 hours.
Man, that's not even close to 20,000. Dan, you're not a winner today either. 4 billion? I'm just playing.
I mean,
we have to keep up the inside joke,
That's right. I'd feel great if that was the case. Now, can you see this picture?
Yes.
So this is where people came from.
Wow.
How cool is that?
It's amazing.
Yeah. All over the world in just, a short amount of time. That's incredible.
How do you get that map?
From Vimeo, where all the videos are hosted.
That is absolutely insane. Everybody that's watching, thank you so much for checking this out. And they have 2 full days of content already watched, grossly less than my estimation. But still, we're so thankful that you're enjoying the content for sure.
Yep. Yeah, and Dan made a good point. The All Access Pass people who downloaded the MP3s
Right.
to listen to on the way to work or whatever,
Right.
that's not even counted in this. So that's,
okay.
they have I'm not counting that anywhere. That's just bonus for them. So pretty awesome. And a bunch of people joined the All Access Pass yesterday. So, if you're watching this and you haven't taken the plunge yet, be sure you do that because, like Dan said, he can just listen to some on his way to work and that's great. Or on the way doing anything else. Maybe he's not going to work today.
Right. Gotcha. That's pretty cool. Do you have any other exciting tidbits about the TLS and day 2 so far?
Yes, I do. So before I get there, I asked everybody what empowerment means when they joined the Transformative Leadership Summit, and people said these things.
Others focus. That's popping out. That's awesome. So we got a bunch of servant leaders here. That's right. That's great. They get it.
Yep.
Strengths. Yeah. Decisions someone, students make. This is good.
Yeah. Ownership, giving control. Yeah. So really interesting. And the take was really used a lot of times with others take action, others take whatever
responsibility, ownership, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So
gotcha.
It's really interesting to see what people are thinking about that. So
and be real practical for people too. What do you use to make your word clouds, Jethro?
So that one I tried using Wordle, but I don't have Java installed. So I used a thing called wordcloud.com or .net, one of the two. I don't remember which one it was.
Or I've used Wordle before. So you said word cloud?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, worditout.com is one too. So everybody, if you want to make those, if you've never seen one before, I I think those mind maps and word clouds are just amazing because they increase the size, right, based on how frequently I think
Yep.
the word shows up. So it's a powerful way to give back data. You know, if people take a survey or whatever, take the narrative parts and dump that into a word cloud, and boom, this is what you get, and you can have a really interesting discussion from that. Looks like we have a question already from Bridget. Awesome.
Hallelujah. That's great.
She asked what app or program this is. So I think we just talked about that, but if you just hopped in, Bridget, Wordle .net, Word Cloud, Jethro talked about, and I just found one on Google too called Word It Out. So Wordle, Word Cloud, or Word It Out are all the apps that you can use to create something like that.
Yep. So be sure to check that out. Use that for collecting feedback from teachers, from students. It's a good way to visually describe. And again, that was from when everybody joined, I asked them, what does empowerment mean to you? And they responded. I did take out the word empowerment and means. Actually, that's kind of funny. Means was in there a lot because everybody said it means empowerment.
Yeah, right.
And then I just copied it in. And so I had to take that out because means was really big.
Didn't need to be that big. It doesn't pay to be that mean.
No. So, all right. So I do want to talk about our sponsor for today, for the Transformative Leadership Summit. It is Mastery Track, and it's a nonprofit company because Scott Ellis, the founder of it, he wanted people to be able to use a piece of software to track when students are mastering things. And so if you're stepping in or starting to do the mastery-based stuff in your school, Mastery Track is a great place to start. And it is, as I said, totally free. And if you email Scott, then he helps you personally set it up and make sure that everything's good. He does a ton of additional professional development to help you make sure that what you're putting in is actually good. And what is really cool is I talked to one of the teachers who has been using it, and she's been using it for the last few years. She's on the Transformative Leadership Summit next week talking about how it totally changed how she teaches Spanish in her school in China, of all places. What? So
it's fascinating.
Yeah, pretty powerful stuff going on there.
Mastery
so definitely check that out, and masterytrack.org.
Shout out to Mastery Track. That's awesome. Definitely going to include that in the weekend resource too. That sounds like a lot of people need to hear about it.
Yes, it's fantastic. So we got an awesome day again today for the Transformative Leadership Summit. And if you got the email that I sent out this morning, then you know all about it. I guess I can stop sharing my screen, huh?
It's up to you.
Now it's just our beautiful faces.
Yay.
Yesterday, some of the big ones that people really enjoyed were Kelly Begley McCall and Demetrius Ball and Kyle Wagner, and talking about social and emotional learning, trauma-informed practices, project-based learning. We're going to have a little bit more of that kind of stuff today with Steve Jackson and Lori Peck talking about giving kids control over themselves, being the ones to determine how to regulate themselves, which, you know, if you've worked in a school where students come with a lot of trauma, they're always in stress mode, and so they don't always know how to regulate. Steve Jackson and Lori Jackson and Steve Peck. Sorry, guys. They are going to talk about how they help kids regulate themselves. And then Amy Bader is going to talk about project-based learning as well. So that is a great interview too. And she's, for those who have the All Access Pass, she's got a great handout to help you know how to get everything you need to do to make project-based learning successful. Because it sounds great and wonderful, and Kyle was super inspiring yesterday, but it also takes a bit of work on the teacher's part for it to be successful. And so Amy helps lay out a path for setting that up to be really great.
Sweet. Yeah, and I know I talked to Mitch Weathers as well. He's the founder and owner of Organized Binder, which is a pretty cool program. So I see Bridget, Dan, Jennifer, Lisa, Scott. If you don't know Organized Binder yet, check out Mitch's session, but then check out the company as well. The neat thing about them, it reminds me a lot of when I focused as an educator, teaching my kids those non-cognitive skills, the soft skills, so to speak, that they need to be successful, right? How do you study? How do you take notes? How do you, stay organized? How do you develop great questions to ask to get really at the content and understand it at a deep level? So Organized Binder is a system, a way to approach that. But we talk about the importance of the non-cognitive skills, soft skills, and talk about, what he's learned as an educator, classroom teacher, serving his kids at a high level, and specifically with that type of content I was talking about.
Yeah. So I'm going to just share my Facebook or my page one more time because I like doing that.
Do it.
Find it. Just a minute. Here we go. Where are we at? I got to scroll through all these windows that I have open. Do you ever have that problem where you just have a million windows open at once?
Man, that just starts driving me crazy. So I try to exit out down to 3 or something. That's too many, Jethro. We need to talk. We need an intervention.
Oh, it's bad, especially Finder windows. That's the worst. So, So we also have Jeff Becker of Can Do You, and Can Do You is a sponsor for tomorrow, and so we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But his session is great. Love learning from him, and he's going to talk about having students be co-administrators with you. And then the one that I personally am most excited about is right there in the middle, Dr. Courtney Orr. She is my former assistant principal, and she just moved away. Nice. And it was heartbreaking because she is so amazing. And, we hadn't talked about education because she had moved for about a month before we recorded that. And it just felt so good to be with a kindred soul talking about nerdy education stuff again. And so she's awesome. And she's got a great little, great story about motivating, empowering students. And I don't want to spoil it, but she created a step team for all of the students that wanted to join it at our school they didn't have any experience. She didn't have any experience. They just all jumped in and did some.
They said, let's figure it out. That's cool.
Yeah, it was great. So anyway, it's awesome when what's cool to us is we know some of these stories and some of these people a little bit better than others. And so when you get to hear them share it with people all over the world, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. I have to admit, I counted how many tabs you had. You had 13 open, Jethro. But then I counted how many I have. Jethro, I have 14 open.
Oh, man.
Busted.
Oh, that's hilarious. You're too funny. Okay. So we did get a question for today.
Let's do it.
Remember where it's at. So hold on. I've got to cycle through all my tabs again.
Sure. I got a question on Twitter, not necessarily related to Transformative Leadership Summit specifically, but somebody I know who registered, and she had just asked it about 5 days ago too, if you want to.
Right.
If you need another one to dig into.
Dig in.
So one thing that she's interested in, and she didn't want to shout out, so I'll keep it ambiguous, but it's basically, can you be a follower and still be a leader, right? So she's a classroom teacher, and we talk about service leadership and that kind of thing. And I didn't dig in too much to get specific. Is she thinking of following, being passive, or, there's a lot of nuances there, but it was interesting. And I guess her blog post has got a lot of action, a lot of retweets, but what's the value of being an excellent follower? Why do we aspire to be leaders, but we don't aspire to be followers? Should followership always lead to leadership? And so these are some of the questions that she's pondering.
Yeah, boy, those are interesting questions. What's your take on it, Danny?
That's the way to buy yourself some time to think. Excellent move. That's all right. I'm going to roll with it. They say yes and is the caught again. I love it, Dan. Way to jump right in there. Awesome. They say yes and is like important, right, with improv? Because if I said, no, I asked you first, Jethro, the whole thing comes off the rails and it's not fun. But if I say yes to you and then keep the story going, that's fun for people to watch. So we're going to do that. When you think about leadership and you think about followership, I also consider the DISC survey, which don't you give those when people enter the mastermind, or am I making that up? You give them some.
The mastermind and the when people come to my school.
Okay, great. So, I use the DISC too. There's a million things out there. Strength finders, there's Myers-Briggs, they're all going to look at personality and characteristics in different ways. But I think the underlying value, right, is just knowing your people, understanding what motivates them, inspires them, what gets to their why, their passion, what lights them up. And so that's my way of saying that with the DISC, there's D, I, S, and C. And the majority of people are S's and C's, which when you take that quadrant, the D and I's are the quote unquote active styles of just personality, and the passive styles are S's and C's. So those are going to have different strengths and weaknesses in terms of the skill sets you can bring, but you can be a passive personality and still be a strong leader. You can be a very active leader, and most leaders are D and I. That's what the research shows. The interesting thing though, and I wish I had my notes in front of me, I think it's like 80 something, maybe 83% of people are S's and C's and 17% are D's and I's. So most leaders are D's and I's. So but the point is, that means the people that you are leading, your staff, predominantly are probably S's and C's. It's important to know in terms of how you communicate, so you don't just communicate in a way like, the D's that I know, the high D's, you can't tell stories like you and I tell. That bores them to death. You just get to the point, tell them what you need, and then keep on moving, right? And so that's my way of saying, with followership, leadership, you have the passive characteristics, you have the active ones. You could still lead and be a passive personality. But with followers, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's a different term, So I think she's getting at the active versus the passive and some of that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's bought you enough time. What do you think?
I think so too. Thank you. So I'm taking that in a slightly different approach, in that I'm thinking about, especially with our theme of empowerment, when you're empowering others, you're inviting them to be leaders and you're following and joining into their work. And that is really important to be able to do. So, if sometimes people think that a leader is the one who's always way out in front, when that's not always the case. Sometimes the leader is the one who is, behind the scenes. Nobody knows that they're the actual leader, but they're pushing everybody out, and then they're following their lead to help them be successful. And then the other part is that you're always going to have a boss, whatever that looks like. If you're a superintendent, you've got a board. If you're at a charter school, you've got a board. If you're, the board, you've got the public. If you're the public, wait a minute, they don't really have a boss. They get to say whatever they want. That's okay. That one falls down. But in an organization, they're not in the organization. There we go. Everybody's got a boss. So you've got to follow in behind somebody at some point. So yeah, you need to be a good follower. And I'll share a quick example of when I was interviewing for principal jobs. I didn't get one, and I felt really good about the interview. And the superintendent called me afterward, which was an awesome thing to do, told me I didn't get it, and then said, and then as I always do in every interview, I ask for feedback of how I could have done a better job.
Right.
He said, it wasn't that you were, not a good candidate, but you came across as cocky and full of yourself and arrogant. And
sounds about right.
Yeah. and he was like, you did well. However, that was like the overall impression. And we had other people who had been doing it for 15 years. So you were, down on the list because of that. And man, I got to tell you, that really hurt. But what he taught me in that is that you've got to be humble and able to be a follower and not just be the one with all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I really took that to heart. I've implemented that in my leadership style. People still say that I'm cocky and arrogant. And that's something that I'm still working on. And that's my high D personality coming out. And, but knowing that and knowing that how I came across really helped me in my future interviews to adjust what I was doing and not state answers like I had all the right answers, but that I had a plethora of experience and things to draw on, but that I was willing to follow the direction of the district or the boss or whatever to make my skills complement what they were doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's great. I appreciate that story. That's really solid feedback too. And then to be able to act on, that feedback you got, obviously landing on your feet and that sort of thing. Yeah. So there's a verse in the Tao Te Ching that I read this summer. It was really interesting. I don't remember specifically what verse, but it talked about how a mark of a good leader is that her people will say, look at what we did. Right.
Right.
And so I think that also goes to the question in terms of, leader's a vision caster. I think that's his or her number one job. And if you don't understand that your people are the ones that execute and implement the vision, then like, whoa, you're missing some things. And how are you going to accomplish it too if people don't like you, trust you, that type of deal. So, we need everybody to have a role within a body. You need ears, you need a nose, you need a mouth, right? All these things. And so within an organization too, people have their specific lane to be in. But there's nothing wrong being a follower, so to speak, because you're making that dream a reality, which is such a special gift to be able to give a community. Last thing I want to say on this question, at least, for everybody watching this right now, check out the book, The Ideal Team Player by Pat Lencioni. And he talks about the importance of, A-player type employees are, in his opinion, humble, hungry, and smart. And the smart doesn't have to do with intelligence, IQ. It has to do with like your ability to build relationships, EQ, all that kind of stuff. But I think that speaks to what you experienced within the interview, and then what this question's kind of getting at. But to be a top employee and to be humble, right? To be hungry and constantly growing, to be smart and have those people skills, leaders, followers, we all need that.
Yeah. So another question comes from, I apologize in advance for messing up your name. Adejumo Olumbunmi.
Okay.
I have no idea how to say that correctly, so I apologize in advance. So he says, he's got 3 questions. As a leader, you need the right team to,
Hold on, let me get my pen. I have to
write this down, son. 3 questions. Number 1, how do you, how far away is your pen?
I have it.
Okay. How do you direct your team? How do you bring about change in your institution? And how do I raise the bar in my leadership skills?
I thought he was going to do like I do during the podcast, ask a question, tell a 2-minute story, ask another question, and then say, that was actually pretty succinct. How do you direct the team? That's why I got the pen. Change,
there you go.
Drive change in the institution and then raise the bar.
So we can do this in a live Q&A, like in 30 seconds, right? We can solve all those problems.
All right. Sounds good. How do you do it in 30 seconds? Okay. That put a lot of pressure on me there. In terms of directing the team, you saw from that word cloud, if you're watching, but it had to do with others, right? So again, being that servant leader, we talked about personality traits. So understanding how you communicate, like knowing your people, really. So knowing who they are, put them in positions to succeed, understand how they like to be communicated with. You ask your people too, early in the relationship, if I see you slacking, or maybe you miss a couple of days, how do I follow up? What works with you,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of accountability too? Because we have, listen, carrots and sticks, that doesn't work well with me. And especially the stick part. If I feel like it's a gotcha environment and you're just coming with memos and stuff, just count me out. I'm done. And
Yeah.
if you know that about me, you don't approach me and try to manage me in that way. So that's really a practical example and really important to know. Strengths based, put them in the place where they can thrive, that kind of thing. It's really just understanding, all about your people. How about you with directing team? Anything you'd add or change or challenge me in?
I just want to say that comment, that question, how do I follow up with you when you're slacking or make a mistake?
Yeah.
That is powerful. I'm asking all my teachers that this year.
Nice.
They're coming back next week, and that I wrote it down also. That's going to be cool. It, man. I'm going to ask that, because that gets to the root of where the conflict is going to come. If you're frustrated that somebody's not doing what they're doing, you've got to get in there and figure out how to make it better.
Right.
And I was thinking about that go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like in the moment that I was sharing, and if you're coming at me with what I experience as threatening, right? That's going to erode the trust. Mm-hmm. And so even I want to know how to grow. I want to be a better whatever, fill in the blank, podcaster, coach, husband, etc. So I want to get feedback, but it has to be delivered in the right way.
Right. And it's going to be different for different people. And that's just the reality.
Exactly.
So I would just echo what you said on there, that you get to know what your people need and how to help them be better. And you adjust your leadership style to meet them. All right. Number 2, how do you bring about change in your institution?
Well, we talked about the importance of vision, right? And the mark of a leader is the team says, look at what we did. I share vision quotes like crazy, right? And I talk about how write the vision down so that those who read it will run. And where there's no vision, people scatter or perish. So, and I talked already today that your job as a leader is to inspire, is to cast a vision of where people are going. So that's what change is all about. Can you describe what's going on currently in your organization, make the current reality, and honor the tradition, honor what got us there, especially if you're doing good stuff. You don't want to overlook that. But can you make it a little bit uncomfortable with the here and now, so that the future and the ideal future that you paint as a leader becomes so enticing that I don't even want to stay here anymore. I have to go where Jethro is leading, right? Or I have to go where, Danny's talking about. This is some really great stuff. So change in institution to me has to do with that, the here, moving from here to there. And then it's, as a leader too, maybe number 2. So vision, number 2, you are removing obstacles and challenges, right? So as people are then implementing, executing on the work, and they start getting frustrated, they get tired, and they're like, this is never going to work out or whatever, and they're ready to quit. Find out why, because there might be a solution there, and it's just a little challenge you have to sweep aside, and then the momentum is back and the excitement and enthusiasm.
Yeah, that idea, vision is so important, that removing obstacles from them. The other aspect of that I think is just vital is when you have the vision set, you support people in achieving that vision, and you don't ignore everything else, but you come pretty darn close to that. Because and I don't mean ignore like you don't ever address it or deal with problems, but you put your time, energy, and investment into making sure that you're removing those obstacles for those people who are following the vision. And as you said, so I had someone text me yesterday after you said that thing about the vision, people running or to or away from you when you have the vision. And she was just like, that is awesome, because that is that is so true. And she'd never heard that quote. I'd never heard that quote. And I just thought that was so powerful that that's a great way to look at it. You do want people to run away if they don't buy into your vision. That's
the magnet.
That's all there is.
It attracts, it repels. It's strong.
That's right. And that's a powerful force. You want to definitely do that. So really just supporting those people who are buying into the vision is really important. And then you spend the time with those who aren't buying into it, seeing why they're not buying into it and what you can do to support them so they can start doing it. And then number 3, sorry, I'm getting emotional. How do I raise
Remember that?
How do I raise the bar? Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one. How do you raise the bar? Well, to me, leaders are readers, leaders are learners, right? So just keep learning, keep pushing. And what I've learned too is you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so engage into something, some type of professional learning network. Now that might be in the local district, it might be on social media with all the Twitter chats or Facebook, LinkedIn groups, that kind of thing. There's podcasts, books, videos that you can consume, conferences like this that you'll do and get inspired. Make sure you execute. So it's all about action. And then the last thing I'd say is the hands down best opportunity for you, the most personalized professional development on the planet are the masterminds that Jethro and I lead. So really it's just a 50-50 choice. Who do you want to work with? And that's your best option, to be quite honest. But any other thoughts there for the question, Jethro?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that completely. How do I raise the bar? You and I have been doing the masterminds for 2 years. We've had people who have been in there for 2 years, and just the trajectory that they've taken is just remarkable. Because when you're trying to do stuff on Voxer and Twitter and stuff like that, it's great and it's all good. But when you're working with people who care about your success, who you bring a problem to the table and you get 5 or 6 different answers, and then you get to choose the best one when you have an issue that you're dealing with.
Right.
And you get to do that every single week. Man, it just doesn't get any better than that. There's nothing as powerful as constantly going back and getting support and ideas from other people who have an understanding of the same situation, and then give you opportunities to be successful with that. I mean, there's nothing that is as good as that. No conference, no Twitter, no Voxer, nothing else.
It's like having your own personal board of advisors, and they have, but they're not evaluating you at all, right? And everybody's investing to be in that group. They invest in, sure, Jethro and I bring something to the table that they want to hear, but it's more importantly all the different members and their perspectives and what they bring to the table. And the cool thing too, because that evaluation piece is pulled out of it, we're challenging you, we're punching you in the mouth if you need it, only to make you better, or we're hugging you or celebrating. There's a variety of approaches that we use within the mastermind to motivate, but the point is everybody's cheering on for your success, and that's a wonderful space to be in, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like Danny said, it's just a choice of who you want to work with. For me, transformativeprincipal.org/mastermind. For Danny, betterleadersbetterschools.com/mm. And so, we really just want to help principals be successful and do amazing things. So, talk to us and reach out, and we'll definitely help you get going on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it looks like that is all of our questions, and
Cool.
It's been a wonderful day, and it's just getting started for me. I mean, it's only 6:30 in the morning here.
It's almost nap time for me. The Tuesday and Wednesday is the brutal day, so I'm going to be taking a nap here pretty soon.
Good. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being on today and watching, and
Absolutely.
We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody.
Yeah, and remember, when you tweet about your biggest takeaways or whatever promoted in TLS, use hashtag TLS18 and tag Jethro and myself on Twitter.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye.